Hi, I'm John, and welcome back to Dice Paper Miniatures. In this episode, I kick off a new series I'm working on that's featuring each of the 18 legions that players can play in the upcoming Warhammer the Horus Heresy. Now, the framework I'm using for this series is basically looking at what the Warhammer community is presenting in each of these 18 articles. The lore, the general look and feel of the legion, and of course, its rule mechanics that they're willing to tease at this point. And then maybe down the road, I might have a follow-up as to how accurate I think that these articles presented each of the individual legions. But that would be a series for another time. All right, so again, that's the premises or framework for this series. I'm really excited to get started. And in this episode, before there was more blood for the blood god and more skulls for the skull throne, the world eaters. All right, I'm pretty excited for this one, actually. Let's begin. Well, all right, the time has come for the legion that I think is probably my number one go-to for this upcoming The Horus Heresy. I've always loved the look of Khorne as far as the Chaos God goes and how the World Eaters looked in 40K. I just never played them. But the models were always like super freaking cool. Arguably, I liked them more than even the Blood Angels. But for whatever reason in the past, I just never got into playing them. But I think that's all about to change for the Horus Heresy. For sure. Let's check out the World Eaters. Are you bored of fancy footwork and devious double bluffs? Do you want to get stuck into the real action? Do you enjoy nothing more than the rumble of a hungry chain axe and the thrill of hot gore splattering on your face, up your nose, and pretty much everywhere else? The 12th Legion are the ones for you. Oh yeah. We start week 3 of our Legion Day articles with the angriest, the deadliest, the most terrifying of all Space Marines, the mighty World Eaters. I am so excited to play this Legion. These completely unbiased reviews of the Legiones Astartes have finally found a fighting force worthy of the title belt. The Iron Hands may be competitive, but these guys are out for blood. Right on. To me, Angron just looks angry. Captain Obvious here. Yeah. Super badass. And I dig the old color patterns of that kind of worn white armor, the brass trim, and the few blue elements like the shoulder pads and the backpacks. I mean, part of me wants to like sneak in a few stars here and there. And I mean, this is like Team America all the way. Probably for all the wrong reasons, of course, but still, nonetheless, it has very patriotic color schemes if you're an American. In retrospect, I'm not sure if that color pattern was intentional, by the way, but there you go. When they were formed on Terra, the earliest 12th Legionaries weren't drawn from any particular region. Instead, there were rumors of a shadowy psychological screening process that only picked the most hot-blooded candidates. This does seem to track with the Legion's overall temperament, which could be charitably described as belligerent. Yeah, this is like all the 80s super patriot Reagan tropes, like all wrapped up into one legion, it seems like. Unlike his more pompous legions, the 12th were kept in reserve by the Emperor, dubbed his Warhounds, and deployed only in the most dire situations, like smashing a big red button labeled "Kill Everything." Even a handful of Warhounds could inflict horrifying carnage, a missile fired straight into the enemy. And just like firing a missile, you didn't really expect them to come back in one piece. Nope. After he took command, Angron renamed his legion after the Eaters of Cities, his former band of rebels. No longer collared hounds, they'd be called the World Eaters. Under his regime, there was hardly any difference between training and active warfare. The 12th Legion became a spacefaring slaughterhouse that could win any battle, no matter the body count. Yeah, if you played other games like Magic the Gathering, I mean, the colors of this legion eventually becomes red, and that's kind of how they, using a magic analogy, this is just like a pure red faction. I do think Angron's a pretty cool model from Forge World. I don't know if I've ever seen him really painted all that well, though, and I kind of wonder, he might just be a difficult one to paint for whatever reason. Like, I think he may have been one of the earlier ones, and the sculpt does seem a little off here and there. I do think Darcy, though, did a pretty good job overall. Like I said, I think it might be just a tough one to really dial in, but I think she did a great job. But I gotta be honest, Pete the Wargamer's conversions he did for the actual army itself, these look awesome. I have to admit, I really don't care for the early versions of the bunny-eared helmets. Um, they're kind of silly to me, so I'm not really feeling those on his conversions, but everything else I dig. And that's not his fault. That's just going to be a subjective choice. And he did a great job with them. I like how the bunny-eared helmets eventually look when they fully became like under the influence of corn, but the early years of that bunny ear helmet, yeah, just not feeling it. So for the rules, the World Eaters are best of the best at getting right up into and punching the faces of the enemy. Kind of feel like all of a sudden I wanted to read this as a Wolverine disclaimer. He's the best at what he does, and what he does is murderize people, basically. But I digress. They won't need to write a pretentious little poem about it either. These gore-splattered gladiators are violence incarnate and entirely too enthusiastic about pummeling their foes into a pulp. So with violence incarnate, on any turn in which a unit with this special rule makes a successful charge, it gains +1 attack. Oh, nice. For the remainder of that turn, in addition to any other bonuses, even if that charge is considered a disordered charge. Now, there is a caveat or a condition for this to proc. You have to charge, but you're pretty much always charging, I think, with this Legion, so I'm not really sure if that's really a con. That's just a way of life, right? Or I guess that's just the right way to play this Legion, is to just always charge. So again, not really a hindrance or a condition. Okay, it's said that a single well-honed blade can defeat an entire armory of lesser weapons. The 12th Legion prefer roaring chain axes, but they agree in principle. Is your foe cowering behind barricades? Charge. Scrambling for melee? Charge. Shooting you in the face? You guessed it, charge. Even a hail of bullets can't stop the savage tide. An advanced reaction that lets your infantry shrug off outrageous volumes of fire, then reply with an earth-shattering assault. I almost want to say the crimson or the red tide, but this isn't college football. All right, the savage tide, World Eater's advanced reaction. This advanced reaction may be made once per battle during the opposing player's shooting phase, when an enemy unit declares a shooting attack targeting a friendly unit with the infantry unit type under the reactive player's control with the Legiones Astartes World Eater special rule. All models in the reacting unit gain the Feel No Pain 5+ special rule against all wounds inflicted as a part of the shooting attack that triggered this reaction. If the reacting unit already has a version of the Feel No Pain X special rule, then this does not stack or increase that rule, and the reacting player may choose to use any one of the Feel No Pain X special rules available to them. Once the shooting attack has been completely resolved, the reacting unit may make a charge following all the normal rules for charging, targeting the enemy unit that made the shooting attack. The enemy unit may not make a reaction. Whoa, the enemy unit may not make a reaction to this charge. Get wrecked. Granted, it's only a once per battle, but if you use even just a little bit of strategy, this could really pay huge dividends on just like demolishing the opponent. Yeah, I dig this. That's a great ability. While the skulking cowards of the Night Lords figure out how to sneak around. Oof. While the skulking cowards of the Night Lords figure out how to sneak around toting oversized chain glaives, the World Eaters prefer a less elegant weapon, befitting a more brutal age. The 12th Legion pioneered the use of the chain axe, which trades the balance of a chain sword for a heftier biting edge, perfect for putting the full force of their transhuman musculature and savage fervor behind every swing. Yeah, I believe chain axes give a +1 strength, so that's awesome. Savage Fervor, any model with the Legionaries Astartes World Eater special rule with a chain sword may exchange the chain sword for a chain axe for no additional cost and points. That is killer. Literally and figuratively. That's super cool. And here we have another shot of the Primarch. Yeah, a little better angle, I think. Yep, Angron. And their homeworld, I can't recall the correct pronunciation, but I think it's New Syria. Stepping into the ring at over 10 feet tall, it's the Lord of the Red Sands, the Red Angel, the Galaxy's super heavyweight champion, Angron. Everything you need to know about this cantankerous character is summed up by the following factoid. He sometimes wore a kilt of razor-sharp swords to slice and dice anyone who got inside the reach of his chain axes. Okay. Flung out into the void like his brothers, Angron landed on Nuceria, where he was captured by slavers and forced to fight in gladiatorial pits for their sick amusement. When he refused, he was implanted with psychosurgical devices dubbed the Butcher's Nails. These boosted his aggression and endurance, and in the first of many blind rages, he slaughtered the gladiator he considered a friend, a mentor, and a father. Yeah, that is brutal. Cool image, but a little bit more stylized than the typical GW look, so that's interesting. Angron launched a rebellion against the Nucerian elite, leading an army of freed slaves that burned entire cities. The Emperor enjoyed the show from orbit, but even Angron couldn't take on a whole planet, so he finally descended and offered to save his son. The Primarch chose instead to die with his friends, never one to take no for an answer. The Emperor teleported Angron away on the eve of battle. Forcing a transhuman slab of vexation to watch his friends die, not the smartest move. As bosses go, Angron wasn't ideal. For starters, he slaughtered a bunch of his own men in a fit of pique just after being press-ganged. Only 8th Captain Karn managed to form a friendship of sorts with him. He even demanded that his best apothecaries and tech marines reverse engineer the Butcher's Nails, pushing the Legion's pain tolerance and lust for violence even further. By and large, the World Eaters jumped at the chance to become even better living weapons. They already had 19 implants. What's one more? I suppose so. So with the Heresy, here's a picture of Khan, which is a pretty cool character model from Forge World. Currently, as of the making of this video, out of stock in the US. So, unfortunately, kind of have to just roll with the punches on that because that's just kind of how it seems to be with Forge World here in the States. Let alone, unfortunately, with some pretty long wait times on fulfillment as well. I hope they can get that sorted out here soon for sure. But anyways, the World Eater's rampages hadn't gone unnoticed. Even the ever-belligerent Layman Russ tried to rein them in, though Angron sent him away with his tail between his legs. Sort of. Eventually, the Emperor asked Horus, one of the few brothers who appreciated Angron's skills, to talk some sense into him. Unfortunately, the War Master was already on a more ruinous payroll. Whoops for sure. As a charismatic master tactician, Horus used every ounce of his cunning to bring Angron on side, probably just by saying, "You're right to hate our awful father." With this bond reforged, the World Eaters joined the traitor legions and soon the Blood God Khorne. That they did. Somehow the beefiest Primarch agreed to capture, or rather rampage across, Ultramar alongside Lorgar, his bookish brother. Unbeknownst to Horus, the ensuing slaughter was part of Lorgar's plan to turn Angron into a demon prince of Khorne. It seems like the War Master was making the same short-sighted decisions as the man he'd sworn to overthrow. Like father, like son, I guess, Alas, the War Master didn't factor the World Eater's impulsive nature into his plans. Angron was even less governable than the Khan, and it took all the firepower Perturabo could muster to get him to the Sol system in time for the Siege of Terra. On the throne world, Angron and his sons tore around the planet, slaughtering friends and foe alike. The Emperor's barrier kept the newly ascended Primarch barred from the Imperial Palace, leaving Angron battering at the walls and their unfortunate defenders until the siege ended. Super cool looking Leviathan, which by the way, we just had an announcement for a plastic one, so that's even hotter. If you're a local and you watch this video, that's a reference for you guys. All right, some more Legion lore. To dig further into the nailed-up brains of the World Eaters, Betrayer is your go-to book. The odd couple of Lorgar and Angron unleash the Shadow Crusade upon Ultramar, and a thoroughly bloody business ensues, one that could potentially doom Horus's whole endeavor. Yeah, pretty cool novel. Her handle on Angron's past in the gladiatorial pits, and precisely what happened when his callous father saddled him with the legion he never wanted, Angron, slave of Nuceria, peels back the layers and cuts the quick of the Primarch's hopes and fears. Yeah, and then of course a painting guide as well. Yeah, this particular Legion is definitely my first pick for sure. I don't expect that to change I mean, never say never, but I did order an Angron recently, so I feel like it's happening for sure. And with all the other game systems I'm playing or reviewing or painting up for me or for friends, uh, I need to play a Legion that has a fairly simplistic rule set. And to be fair, this one's pretty simple and honestly just very cool. Yeah, I dig the look of these. All right, well, what about you? Does this Legion appeal to you? What are some pros and cons you have for it? Definitely, I'd appreciate it if you would add those to the comments below. If anything, it's going to provide positive reinforcement or or it's going to make me reconsider, which is fine. I'm always going back and forth a little bit on some of these decisions for sure. And as I've said in other Legion specific videos that I've been doing here lately, if you haven't, check out some of the other videos. I've been doing one for each of the 18 legions that have been kind of given a rule teaser by the Warhammer community lately, all leading up to the Horus Heresy, which does go to pre-order starting this Saturday and will have a 2-week pre-order window. And with that said, I hope you're all doing well. Be safe, take care, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.